Welcome back to the Boomer Boss podcast. We're here at the G4 podcast studio. We've had a bit of a time of it getting going. Big thanks to producer Greg for working with us, getting us up and running. Huge weekend in NFL, and we've got a great team here to talk about it. First of all, back from his training camp in Mexico is Kyran. Kyran, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I know if anyone's watching online probably don't think I've been to Mexico, but I'm more a fan of the shade than I am the sun.
Good. And what a guest we've got tonight. It's an absolute privilege. We've got our first genuine American, a fountain of knowledge. Me and this guy go way back. He's originally from Stewart, Iowa. Troy Moon. Troy, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Not at all, Troy, and apologies again for the delay. For our listeners, Troy's been hanging on for about 2 hours, so I appreciate his time and waiting and persevering with us as we tried to get us working. So I dare say this won't be the last time we see Troy after all this effort. Hopefully we can get him on as a regular guest. But Troy, it's great to have you on here. First of all, not bore MD Ware stories, but me and Troy go way back from college together. Troy, tell us a wee bit about your kind of background. You're a Vikings fan. Tell us how you came to support them.
Yeah, so a big Vikings fan. So like you said, I'm from Iowa, and we don't have a professional sports team of any kind, let alone NFL. So how it usually works is it's kind of regional. So wherever you live in the state is kind of who you support. So for those of you who don't know, Iowa is bordered by several states, but a few of them are Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Missouri. So if you live in the northern part of the state, there's a lot of Vikings fans because it's not far from Minneapolis. The northeastern part of the state, a lot of Green Bay fans because it's close to Wisconsin. Eastern part of the state is Chicago, with a lot of Bears fans. And then down south, of course, you got a lot of Chiefs fans. So primarily those are the four teams that folks from Iowa follow. And I fell into the Vikings, so I've loved them ever since I was a kid. Last few years, I wish I was a Chiefs fan, but that's the way it goes, I guess.
And am I right in saying you did play a bit of high school football?
Not high school.
Yep.
5'9", 150. You're surprised, huh? I played in middle school,
right?
Which is like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
But I found out real quick it wasn't my sport.
So you moved to real football anyway?
Yeah, right. You guys ever seen Little Giants?
Oh, yeah.
Little Giants?
I want to pump you up.
I was like, yeah, that's who I was. My head barely came out of my shoulder pads. So yeah, but even though I didn't play football like in high school or even in college, football's so massive here. It really doesn't matter. Like everybody watches football. So. Yeah. It's just, it's a sport that's talked about no matter where you're at, whether you're at the coffee bar, at work, or, happy hour after work, wherever you're at, people are talking about football, especially this time of year. So definitely something that's crazy popular.
And you're also a big college fan as well?
Yeah. So we do have a couple of Division I schools, University of Iowa and then Iowa State. So again, the state's kind of split down the middle, whether you're an Iowa fan or an Iowa State fan. And I'm an Iowa fan. Wasn't the best game a couple weeks ago, but Iowa State got the better of us. I think it was the first time in like 7 years that Iowa State won that game. So you got to give it to them every now and then. But yeah, huge college football fan. I probably have more of a connection with the NFL, but yeah, big college fan as well.
And the rivalry between Iowa Hawkeyes and the Iowa State Cyclones is pretty big, as you said. Now, when we went to college together, a lot of people tried to tell me that this was just like Rangers or Celtic. Can you confirm this is nothing like Rangers and Celtic?
Yeah, it's not that big. I mean, people try to make it out to be like that, but it really isn't. Honestly, on like the full spectrum of things, the Iowa State game is very meaningless. They're not in the same conference, right? Iowa State's in the Big 12, Iowa's in the Big 10. it's just within the state, people make it a big deal, but it really isn't. Again, like I said, on the full spectrum, nobody outside of the state of Iowa really cares about that game. Yeah. So, yeah, nothing like Rangers Celtics.
And Troy, was this guy a pest when he was over there?
Oh, you know him well, I suppose. Very gentlemanlike, courteous, scholar.
That's not the Shug that I know.
Thanks, Troy.
Yeah. No, we like Craig said, we go way back and had a lot of great times for sure. But I definitely miss him. That's a given.
I mean, that's how I was talking on the podcast kind of the last couple of weeks about how when I was at college I wasn't really into NFL. I didn't really watch it that much, but the only times I really watched it was with you guys. We would come over to your house the Sunday it would be on. We'd just all chill out and watch it, and then it was just part of the routine for you guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, like I said, even for those that never played it, it's just a thing. And you guys can probably relate to that, right? With I'm going to sound like a true Yankee here. I'm going to say soccer. How do you guys do that, anyways, on the show? If you're talking about American football and then you bring up, British football, do you say soccer?
Well, we're trying to get to the bottom of this because I've been trying to say soccer in an American accent badly for the past few weeks, and I'm going to try and tell a story about how I got this towel at the weekend at, I think you classed it right, a British football match. I actually bumped into someone in Glasgow at a British football match at the pub. Turns out the really nice couple, they were from Pittsburgh, so automatically asked them, "Are you a Steelers fan?" So they're like, "No way, the Steelers." So we got chatting and stuff, and he went into the wife's bag and gave me this towel, which was really kind of them.
I don't think Troy can see it. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you can see that there, Troy, but it's obviously the rally towel, also known as the terrible towel that the Pittsburgh Steelers use, and it was created by a gent called Myron Cope. Am I right in saying that? Am I pronouncing his name? Myron Cope. He was the ex-broadcaster for the Pittsburgh Steelers years ago in 1975. And basically,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a charity towel now, and all proceeds go to the, if I can say this right, the Allegheny Valley School, which is a school for mental and physical disabilities. And it's been seen up Mount Everest, the International Space Station, and they've raised over $6 million. So it's for a fantastic cause. So I'll make a donation to that wee charity, and that's my wee shout out. So Uncle Louis, thank you for that.
Nice.
That's amazing. And you just ran into these folks in a pub, huh?
Yeah, crazy. So I said, I'm going to do a wee bit of this on my podcast on Monday. So here we are. And yeah, it's a nice wee memento for the house.
That's awesome.
Well, let's get into it, guys.
Yep.
At the weekend, we had a bit of a grudge match, and it's still going on. It was between myself and Kyran. We called it the Burkhead Bowl because I've regularly selected Rex Burkhead in my squad. Now Kyran has him for some reason. Kyran, at the moment, you've got a commanding lead. However, I've still got Kirk Cousins, Singletary, and the Bills' defence to play, so I haven't quite out the race yet. Anything you want to say about your...
Yeah, there's 43 points in it. Pretty much Lamar Jackson, Mike Williams and Curtis Samuel have dug me out. I'm not really happy with my team. It's not quite there yet. I've had to drop Gabe Davis because I wasn't sure of his outcome tonight. But a few wee things I've seen noticeable about your team, Shug. On Thursday's podcast, we done a start and sit 'em, and you said to start Christian Kirk, which I must say you have absolutely nailed it with that, mate. 24.5 points. How did he do for you?
Well, I had a bit of an issue. So Kamara's injury led to me. I was out on Sunday, Troy, so last minute I was trying to put my team together. Kamara out the team, so I had to try and shuffle it about. I went to auto pick or whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The points. And it accidentally, for some reason, kicked out Christian Kirk out of my team, despite me telling everybody that he was a must start. Now, what I would have done was I would have probably left Myers out instead of him, so he actually done pretty well for me, so it's only cost me 6 or 7 points, but if that is the points that kill me, then I'll be absolutely devastated. So what people learn now is that, Troy, you'll be quick to learn that when I was in America I had zero knowledge of NFL, and haven't improved much since then, to be honest with you. Judging by that.
I think your knowledge is good. It's just the sense to actually put him in your team.
Nah, it's just a rookie mistake from me. But Kamara's injury has also been big for me. Luckily, though, I had the cheetah on board, and he got me back in the game. So still in my little shout of winning this, but we'll report next week and let you know how it actually finished.
Yeah, we'll be back on Thursday with that. But now you touched on the cheetah there. It was a weekend for the comebacks. He was unbelievable. He nearly brought you back into our game.
Yeah, going to say that. Starting with the games, the Dolphins, unbelievable win. I think we said last week that I thought the Dolphins would edge it, but that was me saying it out of hope rather than sort of genuine optimism. I thought it was going to be a really big ask for them, but to come back from that, Troy, did you catch the game? What do you think of it?
Yeah, so we were watching like Sunday Ticket. It's you get all the games, so you can flip back and forth. That one is one we actually had turned away from.
Oh man!
Because if I remember right, I think Dolphins were at the end of the third quarter, they were down like 35-14 or something like that. And then all of a sudden, of course, they came storming back. So we did flip over towards the end. Yeah, it was just an unbelievable comeback. I think Tua threw for like 6 touchdowns. Yeah. I think 4 of them in the fourth quarter. Pretty amazing, but you do have to question the Ravens defense. Like I don't know how you give up that many points in the fourth quarter, but nonetheless, it made for fantastic watching, and it was a great game.
Yeah, and just wondering what the perspective is over there. We hear a lot of Tua, and we hear that he's not really rated. A lot of people doubt Tua that can be the man for them at quarterback. What's your kind of thoughts on, or what's the genuine feel towards him? Is it warming as the games go on, or what do you think?
Well, I would say in general, I don't think people trust him.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, that's absurd, right? That's incredible. But I think that if you're going to compare him to some of the top quarterbacks in the league, he's probably not in the top, I don't know, 7 or 8. Yeah. I don't know if on the spot, I don't know if I could name 7 quarterbacks that are better than him, but I just don't think that he's probably the guy that's going to, eventually, get him into the playoffs and take him all the way. But having said that, he definitely has played okay. The Dolphins are 2-0, so like I said, I just don't think he's the guy.
Yeah. Understand that. Kyran, what's your kind of thinking now? Are you the same?
I get what Troy's saying, but I think this is his breakthrough game. Yeah. This is his really one that says, I've arrived to the party. Like, 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. He's starting to use the weapons around him in Waddle and Hill, and I read earlier that they've now become the first in NFL history to have 150 receiving yards, 10 receptions and 2 touchdowns each. That's incredible. That's unbelievable. Yeah. So he's starting to find his wide receivers. He's starting to use what he's got round about him. Maybe not so much the run game there. Chase Edmonds has maybe been a bit of a letdown so far. But when you've got Tua playing like that, then you're going to beat anybody you come up against. I think that is his breakthrough game, and hopefully he kicks on from here, because seeing Tua up against a Lamar Jackson that was playing lights out football as well, it's the type of stuff that you want to watch. It's the beauty of the NFL. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. Another tremendous comebacks we're looking at. What about the Jets v Browns game?
Oh, frightening. Like, the Jets are starting to look the part. I know that Zach Wilson isn't back yet, but even at that, I think guys like Garrett Wilson, I think he's a serious player. He's only rostered in 25% of fantasy leagues, so he's going to be a pickup. You'll probably see that number soar this week, because he's now shown up and people are going to look at him as a serious wide receiver in fantasy football. But no, in terms of the Jets, they look sort of a proper team again. They've been a bit of a laughing stock for years. I know, saying that sitting here with a Giants top on, but no, it's amazing. But another wee stat for you here. At one point in that game, am I right in saying that the Jets were behind with 1:33 to go?
Probably would have been
Yeah,
right, yeah.
the touchdown, the onside kick. Yep. At that point in the game, the Browns were 99.9% likely to win in the win probability.
It's unreal, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
I mean, looking at it in the third of the comebacks,
but
the Cardinals going on to beat the Raiders. Troy, did you catch that game in overtime?
I did. I want to mention something about that Jets-Browns game, though, real quick, if I have a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
Never count out Joe Flacco, right? Not to be confused with Falco from The Replacements. Remember that movie? You little Keanu Reeves drop there. But, Flacco actually, he played pretty well. Now, Jets had no reason to win that game. And kind of like, I guess my point about Tua earlier, the Dolphins had no reason to win that game. The Ravens should have never given up 28 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Just
like the Browns, I think it was like a minute 30, minute 50. They had a 13-point lead. They gave up a long touchdown pass where there was two defenders that literally were walking behind. I can't remember the guy that caught that first touchdown pass, but it was a long play. It was like, 70 yards. Literally were walking behind him, let him just take off and score. And then they converted an onside kick, which I don't know if it was last year or the season before. They actually changed the rules on an onside kick to make it even more impossible to get. Like, they used to be able to run up to the line on an onside kick. Now they have to actually just stand there and go after the kicker kicks the onside. So the fact that they were able to convert that, like, it just doesn't happen. And then to go on and score, it was just incredible. The Jets had no business winning that game, but I guess that's what happens when you still have that 1% chance. Anyway, just wanted to touch on that real quick. And then, the Cardinals Raiders, right? Yeah. That's the next one. That was incredible. All three of these, and there was more than just these three that were really great games yesterday. I think there was 9 games that were decided by one score.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. But the Cardinals Raiders game, again, Raiders completely, they had that game won. And they let the Cardinals kind of creep back into it. There was a play on, I think it was the second to last touchdown that the Cardinals scored before overtime, where Kyler Murray he was in the backfield for 15 seconds. Which, again, that's unheard of. He scrambled around for 15 seconds and then ran it in for a touchdown. Then scoring on that last drive they had with no time left on the clock. And then the 2-point conversion was even more it was an inch over the Raiders defender's finger. It just went right over the top of it, and he threw it right into this small little pocket on the 2-point conversion. And then after that, overtime was overtime. Both teams made a couple of mistakes, but the Raiders fumbled it, and the Cardinals were able to pick it up and run it back for a touchdown. So, again, Cardinals probably didn't have any business to win that game, but that's what happens when you let a team hang around too long, and that's what the Raiders did.
Exactly, and I mean, looking around the league, as you said, some very, very big results. Kyran, the next one we've got to come to, you're wearing the jersey, the Giants, 2-0. Who would have predicted it?
Oh, man, none of us. But no, what I did say last week on the show was our next 3 games where, we had the Tennessee Titans, we have got the Cowboys next week, we've got the Bears, and that game there we were fully expected to win. It was ugly, it wasn't great. I don't think the Panthers played well at all. I think it was a toss-up between Baker Mayfield and Daniel Jones to see who was worse on the day, but Brian Daboll just seems to have given the team another gear. Some of the schemes we're playing just were a whole different animal when it comes to offense. Defense seemed to be making big plays. We kept Chris McCaffrey quiet, which obviously was the plan from the offset, but no, 2-0, I'm taking it. I'm just still not sold on Daniel Jones yet, but how can I complain? A lot of the time last year and the years before we were losing by one score, and now we're starting to win by 1 score. Graham Gano is completely automatic when it comes to kicking. He's won us that game there. And 2-0, that's all that counts. That's what's on the paper, and that's what we're going to be doing. So, yeah, Cowboys next week, Bears the week after, both at home. But we've got a chance. We've got a chance. Yeah, take it one game at a time. We've got a chance. But no, I'm absolutely delighted.
Absolutely. Troy, we'll come back to you then. What other results stand out for you this weekend? What's your other kind of standout games?
Well, that Rams-Falcons game was pretty interesting. Think about this. The Rams could be 0-2. Whereas you said the Giants and the Dolphins are now 2-0. I don't think anybody would have predicted that from the beginning of the season. And obviously, we're still really early, but the Rams need to sort it out a little bit. I'm not sure if it's. A lot of people say it's a hangover, like the Bengals. They're saying the Bengals have a hangover from last. I don't think that's really it. I think that maybe defenses have started to kind of figure out what they're doing. Yeah. It usually takes a few years for defensive coordinators to figure out. And I know that Sean McVay isn't a brand new coach. He's been around the block a few times, but I think they're starting to kind of figure it out. And Stafford, he makes lots of mistakes. But nonetheless, that was an interesting game because I thought that the Falcons, up until, towards the end of the game, played well enough to win that game. They just I think Mariota made a few mistakes. And the Rams were able to capitalize on them, but yeah, that was an interesting game to say the least. I thought that LA was gonna blow them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyran, any other ones stand out for you?
Yeah, one that stood out for me for all the wrong reasons was the Texans at the Broncos.
Yep.
Oh my God, the fans aren't happy just now. The Bronco fans counting down the play clock. I couldn't stop laughing, but booing Russell Wilson, like, you wonder what the owners must think, having him now locked down to 7 years at the franchise. They ended up getting the win in the end. Like, the Texans aren't a good team at all. They do seem better than what I expected, but yeah, the Broncos don't look good at all. Losing Jerry Jeudy didn't help. They've already lost Tim Patrick, so it was almost like absolutely everything went through Cortland Sutton, and the Texans couldn't work that out, even though how obvious it was. There was just single coverage on him at all times, and he was basically Wilson's only target there. But no, the Broncos just don't look good at all. Neither do the Texans. But when I look around the results and stuff like that, Seahawks 49ers, I thought the 49ers done unbelievable given losing Trey Lance.
Yeah,
so we had a wee discussion in our chat, and producer Greg was asking, who do I take, Tua or Lance? Me and you are saying Lance, and literally minutes later he gets a broken leg, season-ending injury. So,
but again, from there, Jimmy G's just slotted right in there, isn't he? And he's got the job done.
Yeah, given the injuries around the league, and we'll get onto that and talk about it. Like, he might be a solid, steady pickup for anybody that's now going to be looking for a quarterback. But we'll get to that.
And almost, I think, just touching on that game, I know we'll touch more on the injury, but Jimmy Garoppolo, when he came on, you could almost see that little wry smile on his face, and I thought and then I seen how much he was getting for a kind of bonus. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this, but he gets $250,000 for playing more than 25% of a game, and $100,000 if they win the game.
On top of that, so 350.
Aye.
Unbelievable.
So unbelievable. So you can see why he was smiling, but he's hung around there. The question is really, will his shoulder kind of hold out? And has he going to be the man to take him forward?
Troy, I'll hand it over to you,
I was just going to say, Shug, let's don't forget, the guy's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to NFC Championship games. It's not like this is some guy that they found off the street and, doesn't have a good resume. They're going to be fine. Yeah. Jimmy G, he'll be the same Jimmy G this season.
Yeah. Justifies his decision to stick around. We spoke about it was a kind of strange one, why we didn't think he was staying, and then decided to renew his contract there, and obviously it's now paid off because it's his opportunity. But we'll go on to that, and on the sort of injuries we'll talk about that. Any other results kind of stand out for you? The Saints, for me, I really expected more at them against the Bucks. I think Kamara being out was obviously a big hit for them, but losing the game 20-10, a bit disappointing, to be honest with you.
It was, yeah. I've got Chris Olave in my team. I know that you've got Jarvis Landry. Both were disappointing, and it just seems that Michael Thomas is a clear out-and-out man there. That's who Winston seems to go to. I'm not sold on Winston at all. I've said it for the start. He's a pick king. We've not really seen it as much this year. I think was it the Bucks he threw something like 30 interceptions. Yeah, he's not a franchise quarterback for me. He's been given his chance, fair enough, but he's not. I can't see him lasting in there. But I can see why they've been beat there. Chris Olave, although I say he didn't score well, he was getting the targets. He had a deep ball straight down the middle that could have went for a touchdown that he's just narrowly missed out on, which is the reason why I'm going to hold on to him for now. I think there's more to come for him, and I know I've said it a few times and my luck's went against me. I just can't see Michael Thomas staying fit for the season.
Yeah, the other game that kind of surprised me was the Cowboys overcame the QB issues to beat the Bengals. I thought that might have been a bit of a tough one, but what do you think of that one, Troy?
Well, I couldn't get over how many times Tony Romo talked about how Cooper Rush beat the Vikings last year. I was just like, shut up. Like, we heard you a million times. And I usually like Romo. When you guys get the games over there, I'm assuming it's the same announcers, right? They just stream it. So
yeah,
you guys can listen to Romo and Jim Nantz.
Yep, same commentators. Yeah.
So they do a good job, but I mean, Romo he probably said it 10 or 15 times. But nonetheless, the actual game itself was okay. I mean, I'm not sold on the Cowboys, especially without Dak.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we'll get into it a little bit later, but yeah, they've got some issues down there that they need to sort out. I've never been a huge fan of their coach either, McCarthy. When he was in Green Bay, I didn't think he was a very good coach anyway. So they've got a lot of stuff to work out in Dallas. I'm glad I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, having watched that game though, it does give me a wee bit of worry in terms of Micah Parsons against the O-line at the Giants for next week. If we don't put the clutches on him, he's going to absolutely smash Daniel Jones to bits. For what he done there against what's his name, Burrows. He's got in there without much effort whatsoever. That O-line at the Bengals is horrible. It's just causing so many issues there. They're going to have to sort that out, the Bengals. They're now 0-2. I mean, this is a team that went to the Super Bowl last year. They've had, if I think off the top of my head, no real major issues in terms of injuries. They've still got all the targets there. They've still got the quarterback. They've still got Mixon at running back. They're still a solid offense, but they cannot keep the opposition defence off their quarterback, and that is a huge issue.
Yeah. Moving on, let's talk about the injuries a little bit. I know we've touched on the first one. We'll speak about Trey Lance. It's a real sickener for him, isn't it? It's kind of everything has been geared towards this being his big season, and what looks like a season ending. Ankle break, really tough one for him. You knew right away, didn't you, Troy, that it was a really bad one, and you've got to feel for him.
Yeah, I do, because he's so talented, and he's got a huge upside, a lot of potential. But for me, it goes back to the quarterbacks that like to run. Like, there's obviously going to be plays where the pocket breaks down and you need to get out of the pocket and run a little bit. But I'm pretty sure that play was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was a designed run for him. And like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it was a designed run for the quarterback.
Yeah, correct.
And yeah, so over time, these quarterbacks they're going to get worn down. Now, Trey Lance, obviously, he hasn't played long enough to be in that position, but it's just a risk that you take if you have a dual threat quarterback. Injury is something that's going to happen. So you look at guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers runs a little bit, but he's a pocket quarterback. Those guys, they could take a hit in the pocket and get injured, but it's much less likely than a quarterback like Trey Lance or Tua or even Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yeah. He's exposing himself, even though he's a big guy. He's exposing himself when he runs. So again, it's a risk you take, and unfortunately, they're paying the price. But like we said, at least they have Jimmy G to step in.
Yeah, I think it's not like the Cowboys where you're saying it's going to have a hugely negative impact. Well, obviously it is a huge blow for them, but as you said, they're giving it to an experienced guy, and that's why he's there. Hopefully, from their point of view, his shoulder kind of holds up. He can play through the rest of the season, but definitely a real sickener for Trey Lance, and for any player this stage of the season, it's got to be a hugely tough one to take, isn't it?
Yeah, and you look at, like I said, the implications to fantasy football. We already had Dak Prescott out last week, Trey Lance this week, Justin Herbert Thursday night as well. Looks like he's picked up a rib injury. There's going to be people looking for quarterbacks now, and I think if I'm thinking off the top of my head, Jared Goff's playing quite well just now. He'd be a good pickup. We've already said Jimmy G would be a decent pickup. I mean, these guys aren't going to play, like, they're not going to be fantasy football rock stars, but they're going to give you that somewhere between 15-20 points every week. So these guys, I would probably say, are good pickups. Even Marcus Mariota yesterday, he still can do a bit with his legs. These are the kind of guys I'd be looking at, because quarterbacks are becoming thin, especially ones that are going to pick you up a lot of points.
Yep. Other injuries, Justin Herbert took a few hits to ribs. They're assessing that day by day, but it doesn't look as if it'll be too bad, to be honest, is it?
I don't think it'll be too bad, but when you watch it back, he's in a lot of pain there. He's playing through a lot of pain. He is tough, considering the sport that he's playing in that position, that one more hit and then it could be bad. It could be really bad, but it looks as if it's a lot less worse than what it should be. There's no prognosis or anything yet, but I think he's going to miss a couple of games at least.
And Jerry Jeudy, similar kind of outcome. It doesn't look to be as bad as first. I think I'm down that X-ray was negative coming back.
Is that right? I had read that it's potential a clavicle fracture, so I'm not sure. I don't think anything's been confirmed, but you couldn't see him playing next week, no?
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
So I'm thinking there, like I've touched on already, no Jerry Jeudy, no Tim Patrick. Courtland Sutton's probably going to be picked up in every single one of the leagues, so you're maybe looking at guys like Montrell Washington or Jalen Virgo to come in and fill the void there, so they might be decent stashes to pick up in your waiver wire on Wednesday.
Yeah. And looking on at other incidents over the weekend, we had the Mike Evans fight. Now, Troy, I'll go straight to you, and I'll tell you why. Because you have a brother also called Mike, and I could have seen him do something like that on the field. What did you think of it?
Yeah, now he would have been Tom Brady in that scenario. He would have been the one like chirping, and then letting the other guys take care of it. No, Mike, I love you. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about that. Just there's no place for it in football. It's ridiculous, really. And if you go back and you watch the replay, Tom Brady kind of started the whole thing, but they were both kind of going back and forth. But Mike Evans, and he even said it today. They just announced a few hours ago that he's getting a 1-game suspension. I haven't seen anything for Latimore yet. I don't know if he'll get suspended, but Evans will miss a game. But he said that he was just watching out for Brady. Like, he's like, I'm going to protect my teammates. He thought that Latimore had swung at Fournette, which it doesn't really look like he did. But anyway, at the end of the day, there's no spot for that. It's absolutely ridiculous, and both players getting ejected was justified, and Evans getting suspended for a game, I think, is justified as well. We'll see what happens with Latimore. As of right now, I don't think he's missing a game.
Yeah, and I know you said you didn't play at high school, but did you ever watch? I think they were called the Stuart Wildcats. Did you ever see anything like that happen in the Wildcats?
Not that I remember, at least on the field.
I think I know. I absolutely did know they were called the Wildcats, because I used to shout about them every single week to your brothers.
Yeah, you know how we love our names over here. That's for sure. The mascots.
No, but this leaves the Bucs in a bit of a position now. But Mike Evans missing the next game. Potential that Julio Jones could be out as well. He's got a knee injury. Chris Godwin already had a hamstring injury, so they're very thin at wide receiver. That leaves Russell Gage, who's going to be picked up in just about all of leagues. If anyone's looking for stashes, all I've got down here, Brashad Perriman scored the touchdown in the game at the weekend. It was a deep ball, but you've also got, I have missed them out. I can't find them here. Anyway, Rashad Perriman, I think, would be a very good pickup. I think he should fill in there, unless, obviously, Julio Jones or one of the two are back, Chris Godwin. That's who I'd be looking to pick up in the waiver wires on Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, let's move on. We've got Troy. I think you're going to go and watch the Vikings tonight. You're going to watch the game, are you?
Yeah, it should be a good one. I think that right now Vegas has the Eagles favored by 2, I think, or 2.5. They're usually not too far off, so I'm guessing it'll be a pretty close game. I was just watching ESPN, and it looks like the weather is going to be a little dodgy. So it looks super windy there, and also in Buffalo. That's the first game, is the Buffalo game. But if the weather is pretty nasty in Philly, they might have to keep the ball on the ground a lot, which again is good for us. We got Dalvin Cook back there, who's one of the better running backs in the league. Yep. But I'm just hoping it's a good one, especially after last weekend when they beat the Packers. It's always good to get a divisional win early in the season, and they dominated that game, which I can't say very often when we play the Packers. So we were all really excited about it, but it's still early. It was the first game, and hopefully they can carry some of that momentum over tonight and get the job done in Philly, which is going to be tough. That's going to be a really tough game out there.
Yeah. And what's your thoughts just now? What's your how do you see the season going for the Vikings? What would be your predictions at this stage?
Well, I mean, again, we're still really early. Based off of last week, it was a totally different team. And again, this kind of goes back to my point about a new head coach where, people know what O'Connell did out in Los Angeles, right? McVay was pretty much calling the plays, but O'Connell was right there. He comes to Minnesota, he puts in this new scheme, and maybe defensive coordinators aren't quite sure how to defend him. So again, he's got kind of that one up. Whereas, Mike Zimmer, who was their coach last year, he was like the exact opposite of O'Connell. Completely defensive minded, very kind of old school. Didn't come off like he was very friendly with the players, right? He kind of was his own person. So having said that, with this new scheme, a new head coach, there's lots of energy. Justin Jefferson is going to have a huge season if he can stay healthy. That last weekend was a record high for him in receiving yards. He had 2 touchdowns. I think it was like 184 receiving yards. So if we can continue on that and the defense plays well, I think we have a shot at the playoffs. You have to win the games at home that you're supposed to, and you need to win the divisional games. And we started off, beating the Packers, which was huge. Now we have to take care of business against the Bears and the Lions, which I think we can do as well.
That's a couple of
I think yeah, right. But I think playoffs. I don't think the playoffs are out of the question. That would be a huge success.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, Troy, we're going to finish off with a few questions for you. We're just going to do a few quick fire questions.
Oh boy.
You can answer for us. Yep. You ready for this? Right.
Sure.
Here we go. Right. NFL team you don't like?
The Packers.
Packers. NFL team that you think's overrated?
That's a really good question. Saints. I would say Saints for sure.
NFL team you think's underrated?
Another good question. This year, probably the Lions. I mean, everybody hates on the Lions. They put up over 70 points in the first 2 games, so we'll see how they do.
Yeah, we know the NFL team you love. That's the Vikings, so we'll skip on to that. NFL team you secretly root for? Who have you got a soft spot for?
Yeah, Chiefs. just because they've been so good and they're so close. Kansas City's only a few hours away from here, and there's a ton of Chiefs fans here in Iowa. So definitely cheer on the Chiefs secretly whenever I can.
Nice. NFL all-time favorite quarterback?
Ooh, probably Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. And that's my next question: is your current favorite quarterback? I take it that'd be the same.
Yeah, I would say currently Tom Brady as well. I mean, you can't argue with his stats. I mean, he's definitely the GOAT. But having said that, it's quickly turning over to Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a stud.
Yeah. Your favorite all-time favorite NFL player, is that Tom Brady as well, or someone else?
No, no.
Dan Marino?
No, Randy Moss.
Randy Moss?
What's that?
Nice. I was going to say, does Dan Marino not get a shout?
Yeah, you guys remember him?
Warwick Dunn?
Yeah.
You need a. I think I saw you wearing a Dolphins jersey. Was that Sue?
Yep, I've got Sue on the back of that one. And do you remember I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey back in the day? And you asked who I had in the back. It was Warwick Dunn.
I read the other day someone was looking at Sue.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's in free agency just now.
It was the Vikings. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, he could be a Viking.
Oh, I like Big Sue.
Yeah, I'd love to have Sue. Yeah, I'd love to have him. But you need to get a Marino jersey, Shug. Maybe I'll send you one for Christmas.
That'd be great. If I get you in the podcast Secret Santa, I'll send you a Sue jersey. So, who's your NFL who do you think is the most overrated player currently?
Oh, man, that's another good question. Are you talking for fantasy or just in general?
In general.
Oh, we may have lost him.
Are you talking in general?
Oh, just, yeah, in general.
Probably, I'm not a big CD Lamb fan.
Right.
I feel like he had CD Lamb.
Nice. And the last question I would say is, and this might get lost in translation a bit, but who would you like to rip the helmet off in the NFL? So who would you like to fight with? If there's one player you could punch? Oh, he's gone. Didn't fancy it.
No, he doesn't fancy ripping the helmet off anyone in the NFL.
I think we got kind of a bad connection, but I
Who would you like to rip the helmet off in the NFL?
All right, I can hear you now. Yeah, absolutely. Aaron Rodgers.
No hesitation there.
I respect that guy, but he's dominated the NFC North for 18, well, probably 15 out of the 18 years he's been there. So I have a little bit of hatred towards him. I would love to rip his helmet off.
Did you see the celebration yesterday? And it was like that hallucinogenic drug, and they were all taking bits of it, and he's standing shaking.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I mean, the last thing we've got to touch on is fantasy football. Now, Troy, you've said you don't really play just now. Is there any particular reason, or would you get involved in it again?
I think I'll play again some year. And I used to play, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't really like watching a game. And if let's say, I'll just use the Vikings for an example. Let's say Thielen scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I have Justin Jefferson on my team. I wanted to still get excited that Thielen scored, but when that would happen, it kind of took the excitement away from the game. So I was like, I'm going to put it on the shelf for a couple of seasons, and I'll probably play again. But no, I don't currently play. You're correct. But I think it's awesome. I think it's massive.
Yeah.
It's huge all over the world.
I mean, that is one thing, isn't it, Kyran, that it does take away your sort of relax and enjoy the games, doesn't it? Because we're more worried about the points. You're constantly scrolling through your phone, so you kind of see, as much as we love fantasy football, What kind of would you say you hate most about the game?
Oh, they hate most. Kind of what Troy said, that a wee bit like, but in a similar way. For example, if I'm watching a Giants game, but in my fantasy team I've got someone up against them, and they tend to be doing well, it's like we keep posting that video of the Chinese girl pretend crying and then giving a wee peace sign to the camera and smiling.
Girl may not be Chinese.
We'll say Asian for now before we get put off air. My worst hate, I'm trying to think, apart from injuries, because that can offset your season completely, last week especially. I hate it when you've got a running back, right? And it's from, say, for example, one of these Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt situations where Nick Chubb is just running the ball down the field. He's going the whole way. And you've got Nick Chubb and you get to that end zone. It comes to third down. They put Kareem Hunt, who sneaks in for the touchdown. You're sitting there pulling, well, I'm pulling what I've got left of my hair out, which isn't much. But it's stuff like that. Or your player absolutely busts a huge play down the field. They go for maybe 60, 70 yards. You know the points are about to come rolling in. And then all of a sudden it flashes up on the screen that's been flagged. Yeah. Pulled back, points gone, the dream is over.
The one thing I hate about fantasy football is with the time zone over here. Now, Troy, you might remember me in my college days where I could go out for the night. I'm a different guy now. I'm an older man. I'm in bed for about 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, right? So I go to bed full of optimism, thinking this player could do that, this player could do that. I usually wake up about 3 o'clock in the morning in a cold sweat, turn on my phone, and see when you see someone's just absolutely ruined it for you. He's got like 0 points or 2 points, and it just ruins the rest of my sleep. And I go into the next Monday in an absolute
rage.
To put it lightly. So that's my least favourite. And another thing for me, like, it's kind of flipped things for me. I think I used to always just like American sports in the playoff time. I used to always like tuning into the basketball and stuff when it got to playoffs, and NFL was the same for me. I just thought regular season, I don't really pay attention. But for me, it's now changed it completely because you're so into the sort of fantasy football and you're playing against people. There's a wee bit of disappointment when it comes to playoffs. Like, you're a wee bit kind of sad that those games from your side are gone.
Yeah, I think about that with the Super Bowl as well. I get really hyped up for the Super Bowl. It's the best occasion of the year. We always get together and make a thing of it, but it's very bittersweet because we love fantasy football so much. We love American football so much. You just know as soon as that final whistle goes, that's us until September again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Troy, we'll not keep you any longer, but we'd love to have you on as a guest again. It's been brilliant hearing from you. I don't think I've spoke to you in probably properly in about 8 years, maybe 9 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So brilliant catching up. Not aged one bit, actually.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Not a single grey on that head.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and if there's time to do this down the road, I'd love to hop on. This is really fun, and again, appreciate you guys letting me jump on.
No, I would love to have you on again. Good luck to the Vikings tonight as well, and Kyran, thanks again for being on.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. As ever, good to be back. Missed a wee week last week, and thanks again, Troy Shugside, for coming on. Thanks for your patience while producer Greg worked his wonders. But no, like we say every week, subscribe. We need people to subscribe and keep listening and get following us on our social channels. It makes such a difference.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, we'll speak to you again next week. Thank you.